Magic is at all levels. When a child trusts you and they know you care, you can do a lot. Magic is a wonderful icebreaker. Hi.
When Bart is in the room, everybody knows Bart's in the room because he comes in with that energy and that enthusiasm, and no matter what you're doing, you're special because Bart thinks you're special.
His focus is taking care of each kid and family. His mantra is, we treat the child and the family, not just the disease.
To see him in front of the kids, to see him doing magic tricks with one hand, entertaining parents and children, and dealing with emotional, psychological, other needs of the children, that was extraordinary.
Magic is just a good way to gain trust and faith, and allows me to do what I believe was right. Besides that, it's fun. The first law of life-saving is don't take care of anybody bigger than yourself. And I generally didn't do well with grown-ups, so I became a pediatrician. And to use my PhD background and to use my science, to me, an emerging field, and this is in the early 70s, was oncology. I wanted to make a difference. In 1999, when Bill Hite was developing the Cancer Institute, Bill said, I want to build pediatrics. So I took the opportunity to come up here and stayed for about 8 years.
And what he's launched is the only NCI-designated cancer center's pediatric hematology oncology division in the state of New Jersey. And keep in mind that that whole facility is linked to all of the research activities that are going on in the center.
He gives lectures all over the world, and he's editor of a very prestigious journal, medical journal. And he's just a very well-known clinical scientist, investigator.
His creativity, and his ability to look at things in a more innovative way has really led to breakthroughs in the way we approach patients coming in these doors.
My personal research has been geared towards saying, here are medicines that we've used for 40 years. How do I make them better? And how do I make them less toxic?
So it's not just he is the physician or he is the researcher. He looks at, as he was when he was chief, what else do we need to put into place to make sure this family survives and survives well?
Killing a leukemia cell isn't enough. Cure is not enough. You got to look at the quality of life. And what we learned, for example, well over a decade ago, is that when the kids got the methotrexate, a significant number of them had the blahs, the headaches, sometimes they seized, sometimes they looked like they had strokes. So we looked for an antidote. We landed on dextromethorphan, the DM and Robitussin. We did that well over a decade ago, and it's now been validated around the world with numbers of publications that it will help the kids. So we didn't have to change the successful therapy. It doesn't interfere with the anti-leukemia effect, but it gets rid of the side effects. The standing joke is kids would go home from my clinic with a bottle of Robitussin DM.
Clinical trials are very important, especially for patients that have had standard therapies that are no longer effective in their particular cancer.
Clinical trials are a way to make progress. Even in leukemia patients with the usual variety where we have an 85% cure rate, we still do clinical trial because we're still looking for the 15%. And we're doing subtle variations.
That translated into a large clinical trial for children with acute lymphocytic leukemia. And that was a trial that went on for many years here. And sort of came out of his laboratory. He had the idea, he had the fortitude to make it work, and the trial was done.
One thing about Bart is he's just as thoughtful in terms of his approach and his compassion towards his patients and the families of those patients.
There are kids who I think are alive right now because Bart could think as a scientist, approach their cases differently, and give them a second and third chance.
You don't set out to invent something in the morning, you set out to solve a problem. I was doing the biology. My brother was interested in how electricity worked, how physics worked. So I was still working in the lab. I needed a small pump. So he built the first portable pump. Ultimately, it was the first one used for insulin. But before it was used for insulin, we used it for chemotherapy. We solved a problem because I had a piece of hardware.
He's passionate about his research. He's passionate about my research. He's passionate about your research. I mean, Bart is one of those people who just brings passion to absolutely everything he does.
His patients absolutely adore him from the time he walks in the room. He embraces the entire family, as Sue said, you know, from beginning to end.
He was really funny. He cheered me up when I was sad. He calmed my parents down when they got too sad.
Children with leukemia will do 22 spinal taps. They're on medicines twice a day for 3 years. You need a trust. You need to know that it's all worth it. And we gave them an environment that I think they were comfortable with.
Sam was diagnosed with Burkitt's lymphoma, which is one of the fastest growing pediatric cancers, and it was pretty far gone. We were, I believe, in almost stage 4.
And the first thing he did when he came in was do a magic trick for me. And right off the bat, it wasn't terrifying to hear. It was doable, and it was comfortable.
And he began to describe how she had a tumor and he had to melt it like an ice cube, and she's like, okay, no problem, I can beat it.
He has an incredibly strong, soothing voice. So when people are beginning literally to fall apart, literally to grieve at that moment, he holds on with his voice and he very gently says, this is what we're going to do, this is what I recommend, and he believes in it.
I feel like I had as much of an impact as he had on me, if that made sense. But at least for me to feel that way, to feel that I was that important to my doctor as he was to me, that's almost the most perfect situation.
The kids over the years have taught me to live with disease, not die with disease. And that's how I've been living my life since I became a patient.
Now he's going through a little bit of what he's had to preach for all those years, dealing with the uncertainties, dealing with the unknown. And he's doing it in an incredible way.
You know, he's faced with very serious illness, and it's amazing to see how he's handled it with such courage and forthrightness and, you know, consideration for other people.
He's living life. And that's the same thing he always brought to his patients. Everything that we do is about living life, no matter where you're going.
In fact, even now I'm a senior medical consultant for the National Cancer Institute. So I keep my hands in, and I'm getting to do traveling and lecturing. And so I spend at least a day a week at the Cancer Center, seeing if there's any patients that need to be seen in long-term follow-up and helping with some of the graduate work. It's a way for me to stay current. It's a way for me to stay active. And I like teaching and I like interacting with the younger generation. You can't build a program without any philanthropy. I wouldn't have gotten here to the Cancer Institute in 1999 if it wasn't for this group called the Institute for Children, Cancer and Blood Disorders, and now it's the Embrace Kids Foundation.
You know, we plan to continue to grow so that we can serve the population that we feel responsible toward as the state's only NCI-designated cancer center.
I'm very proud of what we built here. When I came here, there were 3 physicians. When I left, there were 9. And the number of children we started to see were gigantic, and we saw large expansion, and this was really good for the kids. And to still be in contact with people that I took care of in 1976. These are just spectacular to watch, and that's what medicine's all about. It's not a job.
I'd want to do a magic trick for him. I'd want to melt it like an ice cube. I'd want to do everything the exact way that he gave to me. The exact way.
Vincent's health and Cole and all the other kids, these are my MasterCard moments. It's been a privilege to watch them grow. I had every intentions of coming to your high school graduation. Whether you invite me or not.
You're coming. Believe me.
I hope that he knows that everyone he ever touched that positively, that it is coming back to him in spades, that we are all sending that back to him so that he can stand firm and march through his dark period. Although he would never say it's dark. I mean, he's smiling all the time.
Live your life to the fullest. Live your life to the greatest potential. Enjoy life and do what you like to do. And as my father would say, just make sure it's legal. Life is precious. Interacting with people is wonderful. That's what humanity is all about. And just take advantage of the fact that you've been cured. Take advantage of all the time you have and just enjoy. If you're seeing this clip and hearing some audio, that means I am not physically there. And selfishly, I can tell you that I am very sad. This gala is a gathering of all the people who are special to me, families, patients, and families, friends, and colleagues. I hope that you all meet each other this evening. I've been truly blessed in my time with all of you. My parents and siblings tolerated operating rooms and rats in the basement and were a constant source of joy and support and inspiration that allowed me to get where I am. Even while in the MD PhD program, I worked with my brother Dean to help create some wonderful medical devices, pursuing my own research interests. When I ultimately chose my profession, I told Ruth, and I think it was on the first weekend we met, that I had a mistress that would take precedence over all other daily events. The mistress was the hospital and the needs of kids and their families. Ruth accepted this, and you all know she's been a not-so-secret strength since I proposed to her shortly after, and she accepted. When I chose Yale for training, and fortunately they chose me, it started a lifelong mentorship, friendship, and collegial relationship with Joseph Bertino, the one who asked me to be the honoree and is the co-chair of this evening's event. When I was being recruited to CINJ, I met the Institute for Children with Cancer and Blood Disorders Foundation, now known as Embrace Kids Foundation, and another honoree tonight. Without their mutual respect and the common goals I shared with them, as well as their economic support, I never would have been able to move to New Jersey and set up the program that we did. When I became a daddy, it added to the fullness of my life and even a greater appreciation for what parents of my patients were going through. Libby, you are named after your grandfather, a great man, and you are truly a gift from heaven. To all of you, please let this evening be a great celebration of what we did with the time we had, and especially the kids, please live your lives to the fullest potential. If you miss me being there, then I know you liked me and that I made a difference. But you all do need to go forward. Please do not focus on what you and I might have had. That would be a waste of time and energy. My legacy is what we did together and what you will do in the future. This gala, with me as an excuse for the fundraiser, is a celebration of what we started to create for the kids in New Jersey and globally. I apologize for not being there tonight to give and get many hugs, which are my measures of success. So it is with great love and appreciation for all of you, Bart.